Right.
Thanks for joining us. Quick intro. My name is Justina McCaig. I'm the growth marketing leader here at Hellohire. I'm here with Daniel, and Ravin
Daniel.
Shah. Daniel. And Ravin Shah, he's our CEO at Hellohire, and he's actually live right now in Las Vegas, attending a show that's new to us, but probably really well known in the CX contact center brand, all things customer service industry. So as we're new to it, we're sort of exploring, what is it all about? Are these, are these the conversations that we want to be having? Do people want to have conversations with us in this space? So let's kick it off. Maybe Ravin, you're on day 3 now. Can you give?
Well, it's over. It's over. The conference is over. Day 1, 2. I think my lighting's not gonna work, so we'll see what happens there. But yeah, it's day over. Everyone's gone. All right, forget about this lighting. Everybody's gone. I'm still here in Vegas, live from my hotel room. Honestly, 3 days, 4 days in Vegas is a lot. I would love to be home right now, but that's not how the flights work. So yeah, still live from Vegas. It's over, but you won't believe this. I went down to get a coffee just now. I'm in line, and I met another person from the industry, and so it's just. Coming back to Justina, your question, it is the event to be at for this industry. It was well produced, well attended. It's exceeded my expectations in every single way. So
what's the event itself? So like I know Ravin, you've been there in Vegas for a few days. Just you were helping with planning on this. I've been talking to customers all week. I'm like doing the thing back at headquarters, helping our customers out. Haven't been super in the loop. What is CCW? Who were we hoping to meet there?
Yeah, so CCW is a Customer Contact Week. I think they do this twice a year. This one in the summer in Vegas is the big one. It brings together people from the customer experience industry, and so it's pretty broad. But think customer experience, customer success, customer service. And then service providers that are also in this industry, with the large one being, and it's funny, nobody really likes the word BPO. I'm learning so much, but again, because it's not so much as I think BPO has had a not the nicest sort of connotation to it, but business process outsourcing, essentially, it's service providers that are also experts in customer service, that many of the brands partner with to deliver experiences to their customers. So a lot of BPOs and service providers, a lot of the actual customer or the brands that are providing customer service. It's a combination of both of these groups.
That's awesome. So you say brands, like what kind of brands are we talking about? Who are the big players, and maybe who was some interesting people that you met there?
I mean, everyone. So we met someone from Marriott, Home Depot, a lot of the biggest consumer brands that you would know. They're all here. And then smaller consumer brands. I had an amazing conversation with someone from Citizens Watch. Again, I don't know if you know Citizen Watch. They own Belova. And again, so brands that some small, some large. But yeah, kind of everybody was here. Too many people to meet everyone. Like, it's just one of those really massive events that as a single a person here, I could not meet even let's call it even a tenth of the people that are here.
So, okay, we had a very quick chat earlier in the day. Ravin was recovering from 3 days of meeting people and like a whole host of events and, doing all the things that you would expect to do an exciting new event. And you sort of, you said like there was like a lot of exciting things going on. There was a lot of things at the show, after the show. What let's start with like day one, or if you remember day one, what was the thing like, whether it's talk tracks, like what do you remember happening? What was going on?
So I mean, again, with the size and scale of the event, there was a lot going on all the time, and it was really hard to choose where to go and what to do because it was just constant, right? Day one, the first day that I got there, the trade show floor had not opened yet, and so I had the opportunity to check out some sessions, to just mingle with people kind of outside of the trade show environment. So that was really cool. Wednesday and Thursday, the trade show floor was open and it was buzzing. Like that's where everyone was gathering outside of the sessions. I caught a couple really interesting sessions. The COO of KFC, she did an amazing presentation. She'd been with the brand, with Yum, for like over 30 years, started in store, learned a lot about how KFC and Yum Brands values not just the customer experience, but also the employee, or what they call the team member experience. And they say that, the team member experience is the customer experience, because, you really need to value your team and make sure they're happy and motivated and satisfied. And that will transcend into your customers. And that was, I think another big theme here is that like employee engagement is as important as customer engagement.
That's cool that they've got an employee that they started ground floor. I'm sure for like their own team, like to know that that's who's like actually at the top of their organization shows like internal promotion path, and I'm sure that's great for team building.
Yeah, I mean, a very inspiring story. She was also really funny. Maybe in the links we can post some bios and stuff, but like definitely somebody to follow. She was hilarious, insightful, all at the same time.
Now, there's always like the things that people want you to talk about versus what is actually being said. Mm-hmm. Can you give some insights into, there's a lot of there's brands, there's tech providers, there's other service providers. Did you feel like there was, I don't know, maybe an underlying like tone, a topic? What were people chatting about in between the sessions?
Right. It's hard to kind of say. I think AI still has like a really big buzz to it. Like there's just AI, if automation, efficiency is still top of mind. Like you can see that that's a common trend and theme in the industry. But what I also heard is that the AI that people thought of, 5 years ago, which was, and again, anecdotally, the robots are going to replace the humans, and we can just talk to a robot and it's going to be the same as talking to a human. That sentiment has changed, and so AI is still important, but it's the thinking. And again, this is not like one person, but the industry is not saying, we're trying to replace humans. It's to make the human interaction better, and so what I've heard again is that the human aspect of customer service, the agents, the hiring, the training, the retention, all of this is super top of mind. And it's not instead of AI, it's like, how does AI support that? And that was really cool to see, because when I think of AI, I do also think of like robots and talking to, somebody that I can't. When AI is perfected, you'll never be able to know the difference between whether you're talking to somebody or a computer. We're just not there yet, and until we get there, consumers, me being like one of them, the difference. I just want to talk to somebody, and I think the brands, the BPOs, everyone is sort of feeling that as well, and you see this by a lot of the topics around agent retention, training. How do you keep team members motivated, and how do you find and hire the right team members? And so that was an overarching theme, but AI still, like, if you look around, and the number of companies with like .ai in their name probably exceeded anything else. So it was super interesting.
Yeah, so, it's funny. Like I like the idea of the tech. Like I get excited about it, but like I still am the person where like if I'm on support for a tool and I start getting like I'll give it a try. Like if I ask a question and I get the support article I'm looking for, great.
Right.
But very quickly I'm like, okay, talk to agent, talk to person, press 0. And like if I like either through like text support, like text-based support, or on a phone tree, I'm like, okay, just get me to a person so that I
Right.
can explain what's
Right.
going on. And you're
Yeah.
like decision tree of like 5 different options does
Yeah.
not have the thing that I'm looking for. I just need to
Yeah.
talk to a human so you could direct me to the right place, and then we'll have the
Right.
conversation. So it's like, even as somebody who's excited about it for the future, I don't
Yeah.
have patience for it.
You would, Daniel, you would have loved it. Like the content here, like it's stuff that you talk about all the time, and from a customer experience point of view. Yeah, next year you should be here.
Yeah, would love to. We'll join you next year. We'll do Vegas together.
All
Is it
right.
always in Vegas?
I think so. I think this one is always in Vegas. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, we'll hit up Vegas together next year.
Yeah,
Just
that'll be
Ian.
fun. Yeah, just you gotta. I think we're gonna make
I
it to the
know.
team
I've
trip.
got to make it work. The schedule will work. But on the AI note, I think that that's a really interesting case, because I'm sure all of us have gone through the just press 0. 0 doesn't work anymore. Now they've changed the numbers. I got to
Right.
figure out who to go to. Usually sales will get you there.
Right.
So it's interesting, because we used to I want to say avoid the salesperson, but now you go to the sales because they'll be connected to where you want to go anyhow. So as much as we always we want to talk to potential customers, we're also meeting just other companies that are playing in the space. Like you mentioned,
Sure.
AI.
Right.
Any interesting, I don't know, call it partnership potentials, people that we could talk to,
Yeah.
or maybe saying similar things that we could chat about, riff on the hiring challenges that we're trying to solve.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I will put I think we'll put names and links in the chat. In all transparent honesty, I met hundreds of people over the last few days. I know the themes and the contents of my conversations, but the name and company, it's and joining them together, it's like one big blur. But
Perfect.
some notable mentions. So there's a company, and again, the name is escaping me, but they focus specifically on the hiring process, and specifically for outsourced call centers, or not even outsourced, offshore call centers, where English proficiency is a number one criteria when they're hiring. And so they have a system that helps assess someone's English language proficiency. So that was an interesting, really complementary capability, and so we had a lot of chats. But the idea there is that and we've seen this with the BPOs and sort of contact centers that we support that are outside of North America. What I've been told is one of the most important things for them is command over the English language, supporting a North American customer base. And so that is one of the key criteria that they're looking for. Another really interesting, maybe obvious thing that I didn't think about, and it might, I don't know how, I'd love both of your take on this as well. But one thing that is assessed in the hiring process is accent. And so there are levels of accent that determine fit for agents. And so if there's an agent with a very strong North American accent, doesn't matter where they live, they will be, I mean, they'll be assessed differently than someone with, a sort of more of a local accent, and then there's everything in the middle. And so accent, and I don't know if this is a spoken outside thing or if it's a inside thing, but accent and command over the English language matters, especially for voice.
Yeah. That's interesting. Okay. So I, as someone who came to Canada as a kid, I thought, now tell me if I'm wrong, but I've been told I have an accent.
Really?
I know. I've been here since I was 7.
You have a Canadian accent.
I'm going to say it's a Canadian accent. But I do wonder, like, how sensitive that would be to picking up, where you came from. Just interesting.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, and it's one of those topics I think it's a little uncomfortable to talk about, and so we probably don't want to harp too much on it. But it was one of those things that you just learn by being here and talking to people, right? That's something that is it's looked at. So that was interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like a question of being capable of being understood. Like it's are you speaking in a way that the customer who's being supported is going to be able to work with you easily? Right. Even within North America, like if you are born within North America, I'm sure many people watching this right now can tell the three of us are north of the border Canadians. I get called out on like calls with customers of like, are you in Canada? I'd be like, yeah, I'm Canadian. So like people pick up on it. So like even within North America, like there's differences. But then like you've also got, I think, some question of like, are you speaking to somebody who understands what's happening on the ground where they are? And we are such a like immigrant rich like Canada and the US that often you've got newcomers who are excellent members of teams and are coming from their wherever they're from with their accent and are fully integrated into the physical on-site here in North America, wherever they're now based. And likewise, like outsourced overseas, where we've got team members who are participating and have a language trained to the point where you would not know it. You would not know that they aren't physically in Boston or New York or Miami, and it's impossible to tell as long as the internet connection's good enough, and you can have the conversation.
Now, that actually brings us to an interesting topic, because I know this has been on the customer service has been in an odd spot depending on how the workplace works. But this idea of working from home and customer service, call center help, whether it's chat, phone, obviously someone in a store, frontline customer service level doesn't have that option. I imagine this was it's a bit of a controversial topic in the space. What was the conversations around that? Was it a conversation?
Yeah, it was, but it was less about is it happening and more about like how do we facilitate this new working environment. So there were sessions where it was all about how do you manage a team, what do you look for, and so there's a lot of content around that, very insightful. I think the ability to give recognition, the inability to look over someone's shoulder and help them that way, right? And so these are things that I think for this industry have been normal for a long time. Obviously remote work was growing anyways, but yeah, now they say I think 57% of all companies or all like call center contact centers will be either all or partially remote. And so it's now the majority. I think a lot of the BPOs that I spoke to, it's like some have hybrid, some are all on premise, some are not, all remote. Again, there's other interesting things. So depending on the type of customer you're supporting and the compliance requirements, there are other things that matter. Like for banks, you have to have a clear desk policy, even if you're working from home. Other people can't come look over your shoulder. There was one tech, really interesting, where they would put a wide angle camera on top of the home-based laptop, and it would recognize faces, phones, and keyboards, other things that are non-compliant in the periphery of that camera, and then it would notify or at least call, say that there's something of danger or flag it. Yeah,
the amount super of cats that were flagged, I'm sure, is insane. Just cats.
Yeah.
Cats walking on keyboards.
True. that might pass. I think that might be okay. Um, but yeah, actually, I have a couple. So what was really interesting also is that there was a lot of international representation. We talked about sort of, different outsourcing locations. So Colombia had like a booth there. Jamaica had a booth, and they were promoting their countries as places to to set up offshore call centers. And so like I got hot sauce from Jamaica. You know,
You tried
uh,
it out, Jed?
no, not yet, but I was told to be
Give it a shot.
very careful. Um, this is a little giraffe from South Africa. So there was a BPO based in South Africa, and this was handcrafted by a gentleman who works just outside of the call center. So that was really
That's cool.
interesting. Yeah. And then this was a handcrafted Mexican wood art. So this was now this was from a really uh really cool BPO. It's called Extend Ops. I remember them because their marketing, their booth was amazing. Like it was like their presence was just felt, and like they had this really huge pink horse, a vending machine to select and get one of these handcrafted items, and just their overall. And it's funny because when there's companies, and again like Lyft or HelloFresh, or there's companies that you think of where it's all about simplifying the process, and just being simple, right? And there's a vibe that goes along with it. Extend Ops had that vibe of simplicity, and I think you know and they were humble right from the top. Like I met their leaders, very humble, very cool, really value the team and employees, and that you felt that obviously from the people you meet, but even the brand, the simplicity kind of reflected that, or maybe that's what I just am drawn to. But I really liked the way yeah, I think they really stood out as far as one of the booths. Like you didn't ask the question, Justina, but if there was a booth that stood out in my mind from this event, like Extend Ops would be one of those that really stood out.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Now, okay, I'm going to ask the question I probably shouldn't, but
Uh-oh.
does this mean that we need, like, do you think you were able to go there and meet as many people as you could by being out in the field, or you're like, no, this is a booth place, we need to get a booth?
I think we absolutely need a booth.
Wow.
Yeah. From now, the reason is that we are, we're unique. Not unique in that, there as hiring technology as a category, it was not well represented at this conference. But I think it's because it's been pretty stagnant for a long time. Like and we know this, but the technology for recruiting and hiring has not really seen great innovation. And so, so I think from our perspective, we need to really have a presence and share what it is that we're able to do with the community. Anecdotally, like I had a ton of conversations, and the problem of being able to hire great agents efficiently and quickly without burning out recruiters, without wasting time with no shows, like this was a problem that resonated with everybody. And so I think that we absolutely need a booth to share to share the value that we can bring the industry, especially because it's so different. Like it's not a category that would be sought after, like AI, like like phone service, cloud service providers. These are all categories that people are coming to this event, and they're looking at, hey, we need to replace our CCAS system, we need to replace our auto dialer, or it's not a category people are looking for. And so I think it's even more important for us to have a presence next year.
I think if anything, we'll have to take that offline and start planning for next year. But I'm going to wrap it up because funny enough, in about 10 minutes, we actually do have to do our own speed interviews. We have to jump on the platform. And I mean, it's a great problem to have, but we have a few more interviews to do today. So thank you, Ravin, for taking us through sort of the highlights. And we'll do this next week. We're going to regularly update what's happening at Hellohire, talk a little bit more about the hiring trends that we're hearing, how to do it better, because I do think there's, as we meet more different categories, different companies that are hiring at volume, at scale, we're finding out interesting things that could make everybody's life a little bit easier. So I think we're going to try to share as much of that as possible, and we hope you'll find us next time. So thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Ravin. And cheers.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you.